What's up, everyone? Today we're talking about how to create a winning PSA for the Streets Art Safe Film Festival. And there are two words in the title of this presentation, I think, that people can find a little bit confusing. And those two words are PSA and film, because they kind of give the impression that they're the same thing, or we're making two words that can be used interchangeably. Today's webinar is about clarifying what exactly a PSA is, how to make them, and how to make one that wins competitions like this one, and most importantly, how to make them that have an impact on the public and for organizations like StreetSafe. So before we dive into the subject matter, I just wanted to share with you a little bit about what makes me qualified to talk to you about this topic. I'm a longtime editor. Normally, I'd be telling you about all the fancy projects that I worked on over the years, but as I started putting together this presentation, I realized just how many PSAs I've edited. I made 5 PSAs for the Writers Guild strike in 2007 with famous celebrities and famous directors. I edited a PSA for Chris Carter, who is the creator of the X-Files, when he wanted to bring attention to the environmental impact of a casino being built in Malibu. And I shot and edited a PSA in college for the local government to gather support for a pedestrian riverwalk with a bike lane. I'm also a judge in your competition. So even if you think I know nothing about making PSAs, you should still listen to what I'm about to tell you, because I'm going to judge you on it. This is a picture of me attending last year's ceremony. Finally, I'm the owner of 2 companies, one of which is EditMentor, which makes interactive educational curriculum on courses like broadcast journalism and film. So you know that this presentation is going to have a lot of educational content in it too. Here you can see a few more pictures from that festival last year. Kylie Rose, correct me if I'm wrong, but there were about 100 students attending the award ceremony.
100, 150, that's correct, that year.
Yeah, this picture here is as they were filing in. I snapped it before it started. And this was taken at Raleigh Studios, which is a real professional working studio in Hollywood. I could not believe what Kylie Rose and Damien put together. I mean, the students were literally sitting in the Charlie Chaplin movie theater being presented $7,500 in awards. And most importantly, the students got to screen their projects on a big screen, probably the first time they'd ever seen their own movie projected on a big screen. But of all the PSAs that I've worked on, the one that I remember most that had the biggest impact on me was the one I made in high school. And it's not because it was the best PSA I ever made. How could it be? I became a professional editor and spent decades honing my craft. But what I remember about it was being a finalist in a competition, very similar to Streets Art Safe. And I've thought a lot about that experience over the years. And now I'm going to let you in on a little secret. The reason that StreetSafe wants you to make these PSAs is because they want to use them. It's not just to give you these awards. It's because the winning videos get to play on state and national stations. And so it's exciting for everyone involved, including for me. And I'm sure for the students who make them. All right, let's start with the basics. Every type of video has a unique purpose. Films entertain people. Broadcasts inform people. Commercials sell things, and PSAs change behavior. That's the goal of the thing you're making. It's to change how people act. And that is probably the hardest thing to do of all these other topics. I think a lot of people kind of generally know what a PSA looks like. Like when they see one on TV, they know, okay, yeah, that's a PSA. But they don't have a lot of language around what they're seeing, and they certainly don't know how to define it or how to tell what makes a good one or a bad one, or one effective or more effective than another. A lot of people might even think PSAs aren't being made anymore, but there's probably more being made today than at any point in the history of television. One common mistake that teachers make is to say, it's just like a film, to just make it just like that. Or it's just like a news story, and then try to produce it that way. And that's because unlike other types of videos, PSAs can be produced like a film or like a broadcast story or in many other different ways. So I think the first thing we need here is a definition. So PSA stands for a public service announcement. It is a message that's in the public's interest. So it's something that we want every single person to do. And it's usually distributed by the media with no charge. So why on earth would a media outlet want to play a positive message for everyone without gaining money for that? The final component is that the goal of it is to raise awareness or to change behavior. So once you start looking around, you're going to find them everywhere. PSAs are very effective. They're very popular. They're used to promote things like voting, forced fire prevention, littering, bullying, work bullying. And many companies, my company included, uses PSAs to promote various causes. As I was thinking about this presentation, I was thinking EditMentor promotes media literacy, and I donate money to causes like Media Literacy Now. And this is what they use that money for. They produce PSAs with it, and those PSAs get aired. In fact, if you're ever wondering if PSAs are effective, the reason that I'm here today is because I had a meeting with Kylie Rose and Damien. They told me their story and I bought in. So that's why I'm here today. I just want to show you a PSA that was made last year. Tell me if you don't hear this.
You're good.
I've been waiting for ages. What the hell is going on? Come on. What's the issue? Leave!
Idiot. I didn't even ask for that. No. What the hell are you...
Sorry, you know you can't be here.
What do you mean I can't be here?
Okay, so that is a brand new, made this year PSA. So you know they're still in the world happening today as we speak. Perhaps the most important difference between a PSA and another type of video, particularly commercials, is that they don't ask for money. They don't say, support our cause, donate here. They say, do this thing. I'm old, so we're going to look at some old PSAs during this presentation. The next example that I'm going to show you, I remember from 1999. That's right. I remember this commercial. I want you to think about, as you watch the end of it, what this PSA is asking people to do.
Hi, I'm Ashley. Okay, let's sing. When you're strong, I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna
What should you do to stop a friend from driving drunk?
fight to leave.
Whatever you have to.
The thing I want to call your attention to is the tagline, friends don't let friends drive drunk. So this is literally asking people, probably, and it's a very interesting approach, really, if you think about it. They're not asking the people who are doing the drinking to not drink and drive. They're asking everybody else who maybe isn't drinking or is already being responsible, that they're telling them you also have a responsibility to participate and not let your friends drive drunk. PSAs can be grouped into at least 4 categories, or at least that's how I think of them. The first category, called reenactment, is probably what 90%, maybe 99% of the PSAs that are submitted to this competition will look like. And I'm not saying that's bad, but I just think that it displays sort of a limited understanding of PSAs in general by high school students. You know, I'm not trying to come down on anyone, but this is the truth. Okay. The truth hurts. So what a reenactment is is when you film a moment that could have maybe happened with the undesirable behavior, and then you show the outcome of that behavior. So let's just take a look at what I would consider 99% of student submitted PSAs. Doesn't load, I've got backups.
You're on your way to meet up with friends, but you can't seem to get anywhere quickly. You don't want your friends to be annoyed, so you text. You're on your way. 5 seconds is the average time your eyes are off the road while texting while driving. Make sure you get where you're going.
That is a well-produced PSA, and it is not my favorite, not even really close to my favorite in terms of type of PSA. Or let me show you another example of a reenactment. This one may be a little more successful in my mind because it has a more of an exclamation point to it.
Who are you sharing your secondhand smoke with?
Hopefully you could understand that this was not real life, that this was a reenactment of the bad behavior and the result of the bad behavior. So that's how I'm defining a reenactment. You show the bad behavior and then you show the result of the bad behavior. The second category that PSAs can fall into is a testimonial. And this one is vastly, vastly underused by students. Let's take a look at one example, okay? So this one is an anti-smoking example.
When you have a hole in your neck, don't face the shower head.
Suction out your dough before you eat.
Crouch. Don't bend over. You don't want to lose the food in your stomach. Don't use spray paint.
Be very careful shaving.
What made that PSA effective is that you had the victims of the bad behavior speaking for themselves. Damien, for example, when he shows his story, he shows what happened to his leg. And that is a powerful message. It was powerful to me when I heard it. How can you, in the middle of hearing that story, think of anything except how can I help you? I mean, really, you're moved by it because you are a human being who connects to another human being in a way that an actor can't really do. The third category is celebrities. And this is the one that is probably, if you just, did a scientific experiment, it's the least effective. But if you spread the category out a little wider and say it's for a role model, then I think you'll have a lot better definition of success. So let's just watch an example of a celebrity.
It's on us to stop sexual assault.
To get in the way before it happens.
To get a friend home safe.
And to not blame the victim.
It's on us.
To look out for each other.
To not look the other way.
It's on us to stand up.
To step in.
To take responsibility.
It's on us, all of us,
to stop sexual assault.
Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
Obviously, you've seen a million of these celebrity videos trying to spread awareness for a cause. The reason that celebrities are chosen is because they're broadly in the public seen as a role model. But I would like to encourage you guys within your school, if you're making a PSA for your school, for example, you could use the captain of the women's basketball team, the captain of the science club, the school's principal. You could rally around a group of people like Americans or patriotism. When you tie a good behavior to being part of the group, it's very effective. Something like Americans stand up to bullying. You're not just saying you should stand up to bullying. You're saying, if you're an American, if you're part of this group, then you would stand up to bullying. And finally, we have my favorite category, and the one I think is the most creative. And I would love to see a student project like this. And this category is called satire. And I have a few examples of these. Satire, by definition, is the art of making something look ridiculous. Okay, that is such a perfect way to describe what you're about to see. So let's watch this PSA in my favorite category and see how you feel about it.
I just remembered it's election day. Are you going to vote?
I don't know. I don't think I'll have time today.
Millions of eligible voters in America never make it to the polls or even register to vote. When you don't vote, you're letting other people make decisions for you and pick the things your taxes will pay for. Voting is more than a civic duty. It gives you a voice about the priorities and the future of your community and our nation. Voting gives you a seat at the table.
All right, did you guys feel that we were using the idea of not voting and putting it into another situation where by not participating, it's ridiculous? Probably the most successful PSA of all time is a satire. Again, I'm kind of aging myself here, but I'm just going to show you certainly the most well-known PSA of all time.
Is there anyone out there who still isn't clear about what doing drugs does? Okay, last time. This is your brain. This is drugs. This is your brain on drugs. Any questions?
That PSA was cited for decades. Let's watch one more in the satire genre.
So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice. And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
We couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Search Ready Kids at nyc.gov or call 311.
Hopefully you guys all saw the satire there. So these are our 4 types of PSAs. They all have the potential to be equally as impactful. I'm not putting one above the other. But I will say, if you want to stand out in this competition, at least to this judge, don't use reenactment. And I think you'll go a long way, particularly testimonial or satire. A PSA doesn't have to be scary. I feel like every PSA I see from kids, somebody's dead at the end of it. That doesn't have to be the case. They can be funny. They can evoke any kind of emotion, but what they mostly need to be is memorable. So a core element that students often overlook, myself included when I was a student, is the tagline. The tagline is 50% of the work, I promise you. Taglines, jingles, mascots, these things are what make your PSA memorable. So let's look at probably my favorite PSA of all time, also from when I was a kid, and that's the crash test dummies PSAs that took place between the 80s and the 90s. This campaign was made by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and was used to raise awareness for wearing seatbelts. In 1984, only 14% of people wore seatbelts, and today that number is 91.6%. And that was done through public awareness campaigns like this one. This great PSA.
1, 2, 1, 2. Larry, you know, this simple exercise can help you stay healthy, which keeps medical costs down.
But you got to do it every day, Vince. Or you'll get out of shape fast.
You could learn a lot from a dummy. Buckle your safety belt.
All right, there is a whole series called You Could Learn a Lot from a Dummy. You Could Learn a Lot from a Dummy became the campaign slogan of this campaign for 15 years. If you don't think a slogan is as powerful as how I'm trying to describe it to you, let's just take a look at this one right here.
It only takes a careless moment to turn this into this. Don't let forest fires be your fault. Make sure your fire is dead out.
Remember, only you can prevent forest fires.
Only you can prevent forest fires. That line has been used since 1944. I just want to tell you, like, total sincerity. If you nail this, Kylie Rose and Damien will use this tagline for the rest of everybody's life. Okay, so memorable taglines. When I'm judging a PSA, if a student attempted a tagline, just attempted one, even just tried one at all, I will score them considerably higher than their peers, even if the tagline isn't great. And that's because so few students try it. And to just give you some idea, you should spend 50% of your time making the PSA on making the tagline. And you should probably make the tagline first, because your tagline is the video that you're then going to make. So I recommend you work backwards. So just to give you a few examples, it's not drinking and driving is bad. It's friends don't let friends drive drunk. It's a behavior-driven tagline. You're telling someone what you want them to do. It's not secondhand smoke is bad. It's who are you sharing your secondhand smoke with? It's not texting and driving is dad. It should have said bad. I don't text and drive, even though I'm a dad. It's texting while driving spells danger. So we have a little bit of play on words there. With that being said, you will now see this is me in 1998 with my semifinalist PSA.
Mr. Reed, he's the TV teacher here at Swampscott, and asked us to make a few anti-smoking videos. They had to be exactly 30 seconds long. They mean 30 seconds to the frame, 30 seconds long. And we did it. And it's not a group project. Each person did their own. And I happened to be one of the 9 finalists in Massachusetts. Yeah, I got to go down to Channel 5 News Studios in Needham for the awards ceremony, and there was a big deal. It was really cool. I loved it. I think we have the footage of that. Why don't we take a look?
I started smoking because that, in our culture then, was what everybody did. While I was smoking, there were no losses. You know, I was fine until I got cancer. My lung had to get removed. Well, first they cut out 1/3 of it. Then they gave me radiation. That weakened the lung, so it collapsed last spring. And then this summer they had to take out the whole lung. They break the ribs off there, and then they got to bend them out so that they can get in there and cut out the lung.
Smoking is not worth it.
Thank you. I can hear all your virtual applause. When I watch that, I think about all of you and all the wonderful PSAs y'all submit. And what I can tell you I got right was that I had a testimonial type. I didn't know it at the time that I was doing that. I didn't mean to pick that category. I picked that category because I happened to be in that teacher's chemistry class, and he heard I was making this a PSA, and he said, "Oh, I can be in it." So I kind of got lucky. I remember making that tagline and literally thinking of it it was the first thing that came to mind. I put it on in a second, and I thought it didn't matter at all. And now I think if I had nailed it, this commercial probably would have won the competition. The other stuff, the lung that I had with the superimposes and whatever, maybe helped, maybe didn't. But what really sold it was this was a testimonial. All right, so that's it for this presentation. If you liked what we were learning today, we have a lot of great videos and courses on EditMentor, including the art of film, We have a broadcast journalism course created by Doug Green, who was the Teacher of the Year in California. We have a YouTube course created by Sven Pape from This Guy Edits. And we have a course by Stephen Mark, who's an ace editor. For being here today, we're going to give you 2 months of EditMentor for free. And I just wanted to add one last word of what EditMentor is all about from a teacher. This is a testimonial.
Hi, my name is Aaron Lemos, and I'm a video production teacher at John F. Kennedy High School in Granada Hills, California. And I've been using EditMentor for about 3 years now, and it's one of the best teaching tools, training tools that I have seen, that I have used, and I couldn't be happier with the product. My students say, I love EditMentor. They really learn a lot.
That's it. I just want to thank you all for joining us. You can email me if you have questions, Misha@editmentor.com. I'm going to leave this up for a second so people can write down my email address, and I'm happy to take questions. And with that, I turn it over to you, Kylie Rose.
Yeah, so Mr. Crespo had a question for you, one of our teachers, which is he asked for you to share the course links.
The course links to?
Your EditMentor.
Oh, to EditMentor. Okay, let me show you where to find them, because it's actually easier if we do that. EditMentor.com. Up at the top, we have some courses, and you can read about the courses here. For example, the broadcast journalism course, very popular right now in schools. And you can learn about our lessons that are in it. 9 lessons, 99 challenges, that kind of thing.
Love it. Good. So if anyone wants to ask a question, you can unmute and ask your question, or you can put it in the chat, either one.
Does it help clarify for those of you who are students out there and want to make a PSA to enter this competition, where you have a really good chance of winning if you just don't make a reenactment? I mean, I'm telling you, you will stand out immediately if you make another type of PSA. And again, not to say that reenactments are bad. They're not bad. They can be incredibly effective, and they're not better than the others. It's just that in this particular pool of students, and most pools of students, that that's what everybody makes. You're going to be competing. You're going to look like everybody else, kind of.
There is also, sorry, just to add to that, there is further a bit of a challenge with your traffic safety PSAs, in that one of the rules requires that you don't make a PSA where you're putting yourself or somebody else in danger. So in other words, if you do a texting and driving PSA, you're not going to want to be texting and driving and actually breaking the law while you're making your PSA. So what Misha is saying, it gives you a creative way to put your point across very impactfully without breaking the law while you're doing your PSA.
Yeah, totally. And so first of all, terrific point. Also, it's also just from a practical effects standpoint, every student cuts to black when a car crashes or the people die or whatever, right? Because you can't film that. But if they're made out of Legos, you can. If you do it through an animation, you can. So getting creative with the medium gives you some more artistic flexibility.
Yeah, last year.
And I think we had a Lego one that won, or
we did
really
a couple of years back. Last year we had a stop motion one from Mr. Crespo's, one of his students had a stop motion, and they came 3rd place. So it was fantastic to see that. It was a drunk driving one. So yeah.
And it stood right out to you, as it did me when I watched it, because it was different.
That's right. Yeah, that's exactly right.
So, and the other thing I would say is, so just by being different, it already stood out quite a bit. Now, I would say if you tie the medium to the message, like the crash test dummies and the message, you can learn a lot from a dummy, then you're going to really, really, really excel. if you can somehow create a tagline that involves Legos, you could really, 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 I mean, that message will be memorable to the people watching it.
Yes, very true. Okay, so any students, do you have any questions for Misha before we wrap up here? You can ask anything you want, either on the topic of editing or on the competition itself. We're more than happy to help.
I just want to make one last point. You remember in the beginning when I was saying that some students get confused by, they hear the word film and they hear the word PSA, or a teacher might say, just make it like a film or just make it like a news story. Both can be valid. You know, you can make a news story about the topic, or, you know, that you're making a PSA about, or you can make a film about it, more classically a film with, you know, actors and all that stuff. So the way you produce a PSA can be vastly different from one person to the next. It doesn't get, the actual production, like how you produce it, doesn't get put into a box the same way that films are always produced like films. You know, broadcast projects are always produced like broadcast. You can't have actors in a broadcast project, and you can't have real people in a film. You have to have actors. You know, that's how that works. But in a PSA, you can have either one. So I think that the main thread you need to think about is, what's my tagline and how do I best describe that tagline?
Yeah. Yeah, very, very good point. And Anthony made a very good point in the chat here. Said, I find the PSAs that you have shown us today have shown the impact of spreading awareness and encouraging stopping abuse, smoking, drunk driving. I believe PSAs are the most influential form of media out there because it connects with us and displays the consequences of the smoking, drunk driving, and abuse. We get to witness the dangers of our actions, and I find that PSAs to be a very creative and informative form of media. Very true.
Very true. And Kylie Rose and Damien would not be asking you to make them if they thought it was nonsense. They know the power of video. They know how impactful it is to have a student-led project. When they share it with media organizations, those places are excited to show your work.
Yeah.
So
there is there's a whole conference in Texas, actually, at the end of November, and they will be showcasing a bunch of the Streets Art Safe from previous years, Streets Art Safe film competition winners, and they are extremely excited to use the PSA. So those will be being shown in Texas. So yeah, there's a number of partnerships that we're making to help get those out. And I can't tell you how impactful it is when you show someone, look, this is from a high school kid, like a high school student made this. It really does impinge on their behavior, how they see their activity, or what they're, you know, when they're doing something wrong. It very much impacts coming from a high school student. It's incredible, actually, to see the shift in view that they will have when they watch your PSAs.
And I think you're making one point that I also want to stress, which is I kind of poo-pooed the celebrity category. But it's important to note that I said it can be role model. Okay. And the reason that I say that role model is impactful is because the problems that Kylie Rose and Damien are specifically trying to address are often caused by young people. I don't mean to blame young people, because like we all participate, but you know, people speeding is largely a young people thing. Like, I don't speed as much as I did when I was 18, or like, I don't want to list off the things, but y'all know what it is. Like, I don't barely drink alcohol anymore at all in my whole life. Like, not just drinking and driving. Like, I don't even have a glass of wine after dinner because I just don't really want that anymore. But when I was 20, that wasn't the case, you know, or 21, I should say. My point is that when someone who is 21 sees a video that is made by someone else who is 21 and they are their peer or their role model, but at that age, it can be very impactful.
Or younger. Sometimes when you have someone who's 14 telling you like, hey, not cool. And it can really, you'd be surprised how much of impingement that can have on someone in their 20s.
To your point, there was a very successful series of ads called I Learned It From You, where young people would do a bad behavior, smoking or taking drugs or something. And when the mother, father, brother, aunt, whoever, the older person came in and said, I busted you doing this, they say, I learned it from you. The young person says that. So that's exactly what you're saying. The young person's delivering the message to the older person to take it home.
Yeah.
Good point.
Love it. Okay, good. Well, it doesn't look like there's any other questions, but if you do have any, either unmute or throw it in the chat, and otherwise we will wrap up here shortly. Thank you very much, Misha. This has been really insightful. Really, it's been great. Thank you. And I hope everyone here has really learned from you and can take that to their PSAs. We're excited to see their work this year.
I'm excited to see what comes out of this too. And I will be judging.
Yes.
Figuratively and literally.
Yes, you will. Great. Love it. All right, good. Thank you, Misha. All right, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.